back, everybody, to the We Are Not Okay pod. What episode is this?
This is episode 5.
This is episode 5.
Yeah.
As you can see, I'm your host, emo spooky Spider-Man, Jonan, and this is
And I am Melanie.
yes, and we're back again for another wonderful installment. This is gonna come out on almost on Halloween.
Yeah, it's going to be October 28th.
So this is my spooky Spider-Man. He's got his chains on, he's got his lock, you know what I'm saying? We got our rings. I got the emo nails. You guys can't see, but I have the spooky nails, Night Before Christmas. But yeah, so
post a little photo on the Instagram.
Oh,
on
yes,
the
we
day
should
of.
do that.
Yeah.
So today's focus is going to be less on the memes, less on our mental illnesses, and more on the spook. Well,
it'll probably still contribute to our
yeah, I mean, definitely. So I'm coming off a little bit of a sickness, but you know what? That's okay. We're good. We're back. No COVID. It wasn't COVID. It was just the flu, which whooped my ass, but we're back. But yeah, so we wanted to shift the focus today. We felt like the last few episodes we did a lot of, our lives and everything like that. So now you guys know us. You're 5 episodes deep. You know us. This episode is going to be about everything paranormal.
Yeah.
Everything spooky. And everything that's happened to us, because I'm a believer in you believe in ghosts.
Yeah, 100%.
And this whole episode is going to be about our paranormal experiences because I've had multiple. Melanie says she's had super scary ones. And I don't know what they are, so my reaction is my actual reaction. And so we're just going to start today's episode with my first encounter with the paranormal.
Cool.
Let's do it. So I'll never forget this. I was probably about 6 or 7. And, when I was a kid, when you're a kid, you sleep with your parents sometimes, right? Okay, I probably was like 5, not 6 or 7. But I was sentient enough to remember this. So I remember I would wake up during the night and I would my mom would be like, hey, if you're ever scared, you can go to my room and sleep. Okay, bet. My mom and dad, they've been together forever. So they had this big, the big master in the house. And dude, so listen to this, Mel. I will never forget. I looked at the clock. It was 2:30, not 3:30, but it was 2:30. All right, late enough.
Yeah.
And my parents' house is a little bit more like on the rural side of Candle. I don't care to say. I mean, I'm not gonna say the address, but yeah, it's on the rural side. So there's a lot of greenery in the back. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And I wake up and normal thing as always. I'm gonna go to my mom's room. So I go to my mom's room, and I perch up next to her and I go to sleep. But I like to sleep. I know you're gonna think I'm a psychopath. I like to sleep facing windows. I like to face the window.
I mean, that's not psychopathic.
I mean,
for me, I don't like to sleep facing a mirror.
Oh, no. If you sleep facing a mirror, you're a fucking psychopath. No, you're psychotic. No. Yeah. That's like nightmare fuel.
I don't look at the mirror at night.
Dude, you know what? I also have in my room, in my apartment, I have a hanger of all of my some coats and things. Just little things that sometimes when I'm cold around the house, I'll put on.
Yeah.
At night, I put them on my little papasan. Papasan is the circular chair.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what is that? It's a circular chair. You guys have seen it. I'm sure at every party, someone has been passed out on one. You know what I mean? This is
true.
that's the chair for you to pass out on, or have a Hispanic little baby inside.
Yes.
There's always a baby at a Hispanic party. Why is there always a baby sleeping?
No, but the thing is that everybody's drunk and the baby's just asleep on that chair. And
why is there always an unsupervised baby? I remember once I went to my tia's room during a Christmas party to just put something away, right?
Yeah.
And I walk in, I'm like, whose baby is this? Why is there a sleeping and the baby's just, I'm like, shit,
baby's
bro.
just I'm Mimi.
No, I mean 100%. And I'm like, there is literally your dad is passed out on a couch and your mom is DJing. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna put my coat down. Anyways, I digress. Shout out to all the sleeping babies at Hispanic parties that are gonna be this
I was
year.
one of those.
Yeah, you really?
I was one.
I was the one partying with them. I was like,
no,
yeah.
I would stay up for as long as I could, and then eventually I'd end up on the couch asleep.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And
No,
the party's happening, and I'm asleep in the middle of the party.
no, that was me. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in the action. And I wake up and but anyways, so and then my uncles would always be like, oh, well, he's gonna wake up and he's gonna be crazy when he grows up, and they were not wrong. Anyways, so back to the story. Back to the story here. It was 2:30. I go to my mom's room and I sleep and I perch up next to her and I wake up. I have an older brother. His name's Arnaldo. He's awesome. I love him to death. And so I go and I wake up, and Melanie, I'll never forget this because my mom, who is a psychologist, she always taught me about the 5 senses. And if you ever feel something's weird, make sure you're not dreaming by your taste, sense, smell, whatever. So I wake up, and dude, I remember I see, and I clear as day, Okay, in the it was a full moon that night. I remember, and there was a what do you call it? Like the if there's like a silhouette, there's a silhouette, and if you're walking at night and there's a full moon, you can see a silhouette on the thing.
Yeah.
So clear as day, I see like a little boy, and and I can tell you his features. He's got straight hair. He was probably like maybe like I don't not Indian, but I guess like how do you say it? Like one of the people from the Seminole tribes and things like
Native
that.
American.
Native, thank you.
But we wouldn't know what tribes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Native American. I see this boy and he's playing, and I see the silhouette of him, and he's going back and forth, for about 2-3 minutes. And as a kid, I got that little rage in me. I told my brother, I called to it. I was like, Arnaldo, man, come on. And then the kids kept playing back and forth. And I remember he kept doing it, right? And then at one point he got a ball, and I was watching the ball. This is when it gets creepy. Oh, I'm getting chills already. This is where it gets creepy, Melanie.
Yeah.
So I called to the boy. It pauses, and it kind of like I could see the head go. And
I
but
hate that.
I'm getting chills because Melanie, when it turned to me, its movement, and that's when I thought, oh, this is weird, because this is so weird, because the moment that it turned as a kid, I said, oh, this is not a person, because the movement wasn't, as a
Yeah.
person you turn your head.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Oh,
It was a
that's
static.
so-
It was a static emotion of the head. So the head
Yeah,
went.
I'm getting like chills right now.
And then as a kid, I recognized, oh, this is not a person. This
Yeah.
this is something else. So all of a sudden, the kid playing, playing with the ball and
Yeah.
whatever, all of his movements. I guess when I called, "Hey Arnaldo, stop! Hey Arnaldo, stop!" The movements just became like very staticky. So it would be moving back and forth to the panel, the window panel, back and forth, and it was like static motion. Like now that the movements are like staticky, like, oh, now I'm here. It's gonna get fucking weird.
I wonder if it was like you saying stop, because
Mm.
I've had experiences with that where it's like you tell whatever it is like stop, and it'll like
Yeah,
freak out.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's what it was, because then I woke my mom. I kept waking my mom up, and she was like that night, which is interesting because that she always kind of wakes up. That night she was like, "Hey," cause she told me, "Hey, babe, no, hey, honey, I'm really tired. I'm just gonna sleep, okay? Just close your eyes and go to bed." I said, "Mom, Arnaldo's outside playing," and she was like, "Shut up," And so
Well,
what I
yeah,
did
that sounds
was,
like, I mean, 'cause she was probably like,
yeah, she was like, "I do this all the time." So I
Yeah.
have like that. So then what I did was, as a kid, I was just in bed just looking at this thing, and I remember what I did was I grabbed my finger, taste and smell. I drank some water. I grabbed my finger. I touched my face. I touched my hair, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like I'm awake. This is happening right now." So I went to sleep. I put the covers on my face. I went to sleep. I woke up. Obviously, it was gone. I told my mom, and she was like, "Oh, you saw a ghost." Later on, she did some digging, and my house was built on like a Native American burial ground.
yeah, such is the way of a lot of Miami
So,
buildings.
so the kid itself was a real thing that happened, and as I know I'm a psychopath, but sometimes like I've visited my parents at night, or I've gone to their house and they're out of town to like feed the dogs or something, and I've looked at the same window,
Yeah.
and I've walked around and stuff like that, because the way my garage is set up, where that window is kind of a secluded little spot.
Yeah.
And then I have a very creepy like American style, like you open the gate from, so the window, the way it's set up is the window's looking out to like a little patch of grass, but on the side of that, off of the frame, you can open the door, and there's like a long stretch of like backyard with really tall fences on each side. Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But that was like my moderately scary experience. That was my first experience, and I had other ones with ghosts. So, all right, tell me yours.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I should start. I have like one little small one that I
Mhm.
can start with, I guess, and then
Okay.
I can move on. But when I was a kid, I would always go over one of my like childhood friend's house,
Okay.
which I'm still really close with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in, or she lived, 'cause she doesn't live in the state anymore, in like the Country Walk area.
Why is that area so haunted? I have multiple stories
Yeah.
there too, but yeah.
But anyway, so she lived like in that Country Walk area, and we were hanging out. I think I was sleeping over, and for some reason, like, her parents weren't there. I think like her mom was working and then her dad was like picking something up for us or something like that.
Okay.
And so we were alone. Like, her sister didn't live there anymore, so it was literally just us. And we were just like hanging out, whatever. And then we heard like a noise, and we're like, "Oh, that's weird." But then we kind of like
As most kids do.
brushed it off.
Yeah.
You know.
You heard a gunshot. That's weird. Nah, whatever. Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. So we heard a noise, and we were like, "That's weird." So we just like kept doing our thing, and we had the door closed.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the door like very slowly starts like opening.
That's so weird.
And we looked at each other, and we were like, "They're not home yet, are they?" And she's like, "I don't think so, 'cause I didn't hear the keys."
How old were you?
We were like, we had to be like in middle school.
Oh, so you were like older.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And so we looked at each other. We had to be like in 6th or 7th grade. And we were like, "So let's go to the park." And so
Yo.
we left the house.
Oh, this was
and
in broad daylight.
it was like early on. Like, it was like
So
early evening, so it was still sunlight out.
Oh, it's so fucking
And so
weird.
we were like,
oh my god. Okay.
"Let's go to the park." And so we went to the park until her dad came back, and then we came back.
And you
to
told
the
them what
house.
happened?
We didn't tell him what happened.
Okay, that's good. that's good.
And but apparently she had other experiences there. But
Jesus.
so I guess like to just compile 2 really short stories.
Yeah.
I had another time where I was with my parents and I was home alone
Mm-hmm.
because everybody was out, whatever, doesn't matter. I was
Mhm.
like working on my college paper or
Okay.
something. And I was sitting in the kitchen 'cause
Mhm.
I did not like to be upstairs by myself.
Why is that?
Weird vibes. I didn't like it.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I was downstairs in the kitchen. Like, if I'm home alone in the house, I don't like to be upstairs. So
This is the house you grew up in.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So
It's good to know.
I was like writing my paper or whatever, and all of a sudden I heard on the 2nd floor like someone was rolling like a rolling chair. And we had a couple of those on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
And I would hear like footsteps. And like I would hear all of these noises.
And it wasn't your brother? Where's your brother?
I think he was like out or with my parents, or like I was legitimately alone.
Okay.
And then at one point I was like, let me be brave, right? So I went upstairs and I kind of like looked around. Everything was dark. And this was midday.
Not fucking with that.
Everything
right
was
now.
dark, and I was like, no. And I just went downstairs. I played music really loudly and I tried to ignore it.
But you heard like the footsteps.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard like footsteps, and I heard
Was
like
it large,
chairs.
like an adult person, or?
I couldn't tell you.
God,
but
that's so weird. Ugh.
yeah, I didn't like that.
Ugh,
But
so
yeah,
weird.
I put 2 stories together just to like
Ugh.
make it a little bit longer. But I have a really creepy one that I'm saving for last.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna wrap up the creepiness then.
This is fun. I like
No,
this.
I love this. This is probably one of my favorite episodes already. Because sometimes like I'm since we talk so much and we're such good friends, I kind of forget sometimes that like we're recording a podcast. So
Yeah.
I have to occasionally look at the camera.
No, yeah,
and
that's what I just did. I
I'm
was
like,
like,
oh,
wait.
I made it doing a podcast.
Hi, podcast.
Hi, podcast. Hey guys, what's going on? So another scary story. Let me think of one that I'm trying to go like moderately because I have one that I like saw and like I was like Let me think. So I mean, one of them was oh, this is a fucking weird one. Do you remember the Deering Estate? So this is the Deering Estate. We'll add that in.
Yeah, I'll
This
probably put
is
it on here.
okay. This is the Deering Estate. It was an old plantation house in Miami. It's been changed, I guess you could say restored, and it now is a museum where slaves unfortunately worked and had their they worked on those fields, and it's a very massive property. It's got like cottages and
Yeah.
things like that. And it's a kind of a place where I don't know, there was just a lot of torture, and it was a slave house. I was about in the 5th grade, okay? And I'm going to a field trip where we're going to do the history of, slavery and things like that. Again, it's not a good place. My mom's a chaperone. Great. Awesome. As most Hispanic moms that want a day off do, she's a chaperone. Awesome. We go to Deering Estate. And at one point, we kind of break off into groups. We break off into groups. And my mom is with me, close. And I'm a spiritual person, I'm Christian, my mom as well. And I feel like I have a like I've always like been able to sense stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, I've always had like vibes and stuff like that.
100%. Like I
Yeah.
have two stories that I'm gonna move into after yours
Okay.
that are the same.
Yeah, like I've always I've always had like feelings or like something will just like I'm like that's not right. Or
Yeah.
even with people, like if we meet someone and like I'll shake their hand, I'll be like, oh, I sense that there's like some sort of darkness with this person, and I'm not joking, Melanie. Every single person that I've met that I've said sensed that with something bad. You know, even there's one guy who I never forgets at work. I'm not gonna divulge his name or whatever, but I shook his hand and everyone was like, "What a nice guy!" And I remember telling someone, I was like, there's something with that guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I was like, your eyes don't lie, bro. And I see like something behind his eyes. You know what I mean? And turned out something really, really fucked up came out later, and he lost his job and whatever. But
Oh my god.
like it was like cops came to the station type beat.
you gotta trust like your gut.
Yeah,
to
yeah,
those
yeah. And
things.
everyone for a while, oh, he's so nice. And I'm like, I don't know about this one, chief. And I worked like desk over from him. And I was just like,
That's so creepy.
I don't know, man. But anyways, bring it back to the story. So we break off into these groups in this house, and the tour guide is with certain groups of people. There's, you know, your chaperones are with you,
Yeah.
and obviously my mom is just with me because, like, you know, it's my mom.
Yeah.
So my mom's with me, and we're going around the house, and there is I remember there's a room, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'd be like those white people in the what is scary stories that die, because I'm the type to be like, hello,
No.
Steven? Like,
Stop.
I have no fear. I don't get scared. I'm only
listen.
scared of cockroaches.
I also am the type that will investigate the
100%.
noise.
100%.
But if I get like a really bad vibe, I'm not doing it.
I
won't
will.
look. I will not do it.
I have to see, as Drake said, if I see potential, I just got to see it through. So you know, so I we're going around and we go to this, think like a living room, but like with like a big painting, and then like there's two open doors. So it's like it's I guess like a sitting room you'd call it. So like a sitting room area, and then my eyes crane over to one side, and I see there's like a downstairs hallway, and I'm like, huh, that's weird. I've never seen that before because we live in Florida.
Yeah.
So in Florida, downstairs like cellars and attics and things like that don't really. I mean, cellars don't exist because in Florida we
have hurricanes.
we have hurricanes, and it would not.
Well, also we do have attics, but like not the attics that they have up north.
Yeah,
because of hurricanes.
Right, like we have like smaller,
Yeah.
almost like storage. It's not like the.
Not even like most places have like that attic where it lets the wind.
That's
kind
what
of,
I
like,
have in my. That's what my
pass
parents' house
through,
had. Yeah.
so that it doesn't.
Yeah, but it's just like not well constructed. Like
Yeah.
it's just like a little shack, you know.
Yeah.
But like you can't live there, not like in
Exactly.
the movies. But
Anyway.
So
back-
anyways, sorry,
keep-
little tangent. So we go, and I'll never forget that I see that that hallway, and I remember my mom is talking to me, and like I'm not listening, like everything just kind of like zones out for a second, and I like look at it, and I just like, you know, I was really tiny until like, well, I'm still short, but I'm saying I was really tiny back then, so like, you know, I easily was misplaced, so I just walk on over to the hallway. And I see like there's like the downstairs and just like a door with like a lock on it, like it's like very locked, and I see this says do not enter, and obviously I'm like, I'm gonna enter.
Yeah.
And Melanie, I'll never forget this. I go over and then I go down one step, I go down 2 steps, and I go down 3 steps. I'm not even that far down, and all of a sudden I hear like, I'm not joking, like a ringing in my ear, like a beep.
Yeah.
And I'm like. And I remember I'm looking back, and I could still see, you know, the hallway, and everyone's kind of but remember, this is like in the corner. Like you got to kind of turn a corner, and there's a piece of wall, kind of shading you from the rest of the outside. You got to really turn that corner to see that someone's there. And I'm creaking, and I go to the third one, and the fourth, and fifth, and it's like it's really just loud in my ear.
Yeah.
And I hear Melanie, and I never forget to this day. I hear like from the door, and I was like, "Is that?" And I looked around, and I remember I went on the floor with my leg, and it was old old flooring. So then I went like, you know, and then I like kind of stepped on the wood again, kind of like to be like, okay, am I fucking hearing something? And I went to about the 6th one, and I was maybe like 4 steps away from it.
Yeah.
And I was already, the hallway had already consumed me completely. And the ringing, Melanie, was loud. Like someone is feeding like a into your thing.
Yeah.
And I hear very like moderately, I hear like, and I'm like, and I'm kind of looking.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
like
hearing,
that
and
at
then I'm
all.
like, and as I'm turning to go to the seventh, like the last one of the third to last step, my mom's like, Jonan, and I was like, huh? And she's like, come up, dude, come up. And I could see like in her eyes there was like a sense of like urgency, like she looked like upset. Like I was like, oh shit, my mom looks kind of pissed. What's up? So I quickly ran back, and it was like as I got back up, it was like shh, like just a normal ambient sound, but it was back. Everyone's doing their thing. And she grabbed my arm and she's like, yo, we got to get out of this room. And I was like, huh? And she's like, I'll tell you later. Let's go. And I was like, okay. So then she grabs me and we go outside. And she looks like rushed.
Yeah.
And I'm getting chills. This is when it gets really fucking weird. And
Oh,
she
I
looks
don't
like
that.
she looks like rushed. And I was like, Mom, what happened? And I could see in her eyes, like as a kid, you kind of recognize like my mom is
Yeah.
mad, but I don't think she's mad at me. We go outside and she's just like, I see her like kind of looking at the house and looking at me and looking at the house and looking at me. And she's like, did you see something? And I was like, no, I mean, it like was felt kind of weird. And she's like, yeah, when I lost you, I was talking and I kept talking. And like, as I kept talking, I realized you weren't there. But when I like looked over to my side and then I looked back, I saw this huge, like hulking, maybe like 6'4" guy, just like old attire from like, I guess like the 1800s,
Yeah.
just like staring at my mom, just like super pissed.
Yo, that's so.
And she said she saw him clear. They gave me all his features, and she said like, as you, she's like, this is when you were downstairs. I was like, yeah, I was like trying to go to the cellar, and she's like, I saw this guy just looking at me. She gave me all his features, and then like as she said like she said that she was talking and she went to go look for me. She turned back and the guy was like still there, like just like staring at her, just like. And then my mom grabbed me, and when we went back upstairs, he was gone.
I hate that.
Yeah. So she saw like a figure of a man that was upset. Like what the fuck are you doing here? So yeah.
I'm getting like,
that was weird, right?
Getting goosebumps. I'm like cold all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was weird.
But okay, so
And I have one more after that, but it's same kind of concept. But this was all me alone.
No,
so.
I hate that. So I'm gonna change my story 'cause you ramped it up a lot. So I'm gonna ramp mine up a little bit. So one thing about when I was living with my parents is that I would suffer from sleep paralysis, which my last story is also. My last story is also. After I moved out, I never had it again, which was crazy. But
what causes that?
So I don't really know. Like I Googled it a little bit. The spiritual side is like there's a demon present, but the non-spiritual side says like your mind is asleep, like isn't active, but your body's awake, something like that, and it creates like this weird paralysis.
Got it.
Like you're conscious but not really. But anyway, I'm choosing to go with the spiritual side because of my experience.
Yes. Okay.
So, while I was living with my parents, I would suffer from sleep paralysis like very often, almost every night or
What
every
the
other
heck?
night. Like frequently enough where it was like, oh, this is happening again type of thing. And I knew when it would happen because I would have a dream in my house. Like, you know how when you have dreams and you're like in your house, but you know in your mind, in your dream state, that it's not your house.
Yeah, I can manipulate my dreams like that. Yeah.
But like, you know, it's not your house in your dream,
Yeah.
but in your dream, it's your house.
Yeah.
Type of thing. But I would know that I was in the current layout of my house, like my current where I was living. That's when I would have sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And it was very specifically those kinds of dreams. So I had that dream and I woke up obviously and I was in sleep paralysis and I was like, fuck, like this again. But the difference was I was hearing voices.
Okay. Like, were you able to make them out of that?
Yeah, no, I was able to make them out. And it sounded
Great.
like my mom's voice and it sounded like my uncle's voice.
Okay. But, the evil spirits can manipulate
Yeah,
voices.
exactly.
Okay.
So they were like talking. I can't remember exactly what they were saying right now, but they were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, stop it. And they got like quiet. And I just like, turned over and I went and tried to go back to sleep. And
Is in your dream?
No, I woke up already. And like I know how to get myself out of the sleep paralysis. So I got myself out of it. I like turned over and I went back to sleep. And so I woke back up again and I could feel this hand like trying to push my head off of my pillow.
Okay.
And
all right.
it was like trying to push me off, and it was so fucking annoying, obviously. And the voices were back and stuff, and I didn't want to like open my eyes because I knew I was gonna see something if I opened my eyes.
But it was a hand pushing you into the pillow.
Off the pillow, like it was kind of like trying to get me off of it.
So you would
So
turn
let's
your
say,
head up.
no, like let's say I'm laying like this. This is my pillow, and this is the hand, and it was trying to like push me, like just get me off the pillow.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
was weird.
Okay.
And
Like how my cat does when it wants pets.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna make this like a light story.
Yeah.
And I said, "Stop it!"
Like,
again.
like you said this and you were awake.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
awake, and I was like, "Stop it!" And then it all went away, and then I was like, "Oh fuck you guys, bro!" And then I just like did my thing.
I'm saying you felt it
I felt it like on my head like this,
and you were awake.
I was awake.
And did the hands feel human?
Yeah, it felt like it was like a human hand like this, like pushing me off.
Huh.
And I was like, "Stop." And then it finally just like went away, and I turned around because I figured out that if I go back to sleeping in the same position where I had my sleep paralysis, I'd get it like immediately again. So I had to like readjust myself, and then I just went back to sleep. And then I woke up and I was like, I hate it here.
No. And this was how old were you?
I was like 19, 20. I was already
this
like
is
old, like 21.
Yeah, you're sentient at this point.
I'm a sentient human being at this point.
Oh my gosh.
I was like old as fuck.
Yeah, I mean we're old, but yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ, that's dark. No, that's pretty bad.
And that's not even my next story.
Oh God. Okay. Well, this is gonna be my big one, I guess you could say.
I'm having fun, like being creepy.
No, me too. No, but it's definitely we should definitely do a segment where we could just talk about scary stories that we've read. Yeah, I guess I could say I have another scary story, and this one was, I mean, how many do you want to tell? We have the time. I mean, I can.
I have one more.
Okay. Well, this one's gonna be a little long, so this will be like my big crescendo story, and this will like all encompass. This will all encompass all of my scariness because it happened at the course of 3 months when I worked at this place. So basically, about maybe I'm trying to think of the year. So in 2015, I remember this. So I was a substitute teacher for a while. No, you weren't friends with me back then.
No.
I was a substitute teacher for a while. It was ridiculous. I was 18 years old, and I'm like, you guys are like the same age as me. Like, you guys are like twice my size. So after that gig, I ended up working for 3 months before I got my job in TV, and I was blessed enough to get that job. But I worked for 3 months at a Jewish retirement home. It's very specific. These people were very wealthy. Yeah, it's called the Palace. I don't care. I'll just say it. It's like old money, and these people were smart. These people, I think they were like Israeli, and this family is very like wealthy. These people were wealthy, and they bought these like plots of land and made these like massive retirement homes, and they're Jewish, so everything was kosher, everything was very nice. But again, like in every scary story, all the nice stuff is always kind of creepy. They would pay $6,000 to live there a month.
Holy.
Yeah, but that was a lower tier. The higher tier ones were 7, 8, 9, 10. A month, 1 month. That's 1 month. And obviously they had everything nice.
Holy
Yeah.
shit,
They had
dude.
like every meal, whatever they wanted to eat. They had events, activities. They would get bused. Everything was done for them. They had a personal like assistant with them because this was assisted living, and there's another building. No, I'm sorry. This was like independent living, and then there was a separate building that was like assisted living. Like they were with a person. So they say older people are I forgot we're recording. I forgot older people.
Me too.
Older people, since they are closer to death, like when you're getting, from the spiritual side, when you're getting closer to passing, apparently like certain chemicals and certain things kind of open. And I believe, in a sense, spiritually, you start to open up and you start to see different things that you didn't really see back then.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And my uncle was very young when he passed away. My uncle was 38, and he was just same personality as me. He was super like outgoing and boisterous, and like his what is it? His funeral was like a party. Like people fucking partied at his funeral. But he died when he was 38, and something
very
really
young.
Yeah. He died when he was super young. And when he I guess he died of liver cirrhosis. He was like an alcoholic for like a lot. He had like a lot of substance abuse problems. No one knew. He was like super high functioning.
Yeah.
And And then, you know,
Those are the scary ones.
yeah, he was super high functioning, and then he passed away. I was a sophomore in high school. He passed away from one week to the next. I mean,
Mm.
his like one day his liver just, and
Yeah.
you know, even with dialysis and whatever, the cirrhosis had eroded most of his liver,
Yeah.
and he died like a very violent, very terrible death. And I don't know, that's kind of why I'm like very big on like healthy living and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you see, like, listen, I'm all about legalizing weed. Weed is not a drug. That's a confusing spice. That's not. That's just but, like,
fusing spice, is that what you said?
it's a confusing spice.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I heard a fusing spice.
No,
and
no.
was like,
I mean,
what the
both,
fuck?
honestly. No, but it, you know, I'm big about like weed, and I think you could look recreationally. I think you should legalize all drugs. I don't think that, you know, if you want to trip balls in your house in the hammocks and you want to look up at the stars, who cares? But there's a point where I'm like, you know, I'm like substance abuse and stuff is something that's like always been sensitive for me. You know, and I live I don't drink that much. I don't smoke. It doesn't really like do anything for me. I don't like to smoke, but I drink like socially, but like I don't, you know, I have a big thing like mentally with like that. But long story short, when he passed away, the day before he passed away, he was on his hospital bed, and he
Mhm.
told my grandmother, hey mom, I appreciate you keeping me company, but like I've had this little boy keeping me company this whole time. Like, did you send him here? Like, who is he? And she like looks around and she sees an empty seat and she goes, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "The little boy right there." And he's like,
Mhm.
"What?" And he's like, "He's been with me this whole time." And my grandma's like, "What are you talking about?" And then she described his build and his attire, and she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And like she calls my mom and she's like, "Hey, I have to tell you something." And my mom's like, "What?" And she's like, "Well, your dad, when he was a kid, had a brother that
Oh,
died in a
stop.
tragic
I'm
accident."
getting
No, yeah.
goosebumps.
This is real. He died in a tragic accident when he was really young, and because it was in the 30s and 40s, birth certificates, death certificates, it wasn't really kept up like that. So he kind of died, and they kind of swept it under the rug. So she describes his build, and my mom shows me a picture. It's the same exact description that he had said. The same exact
Yo, that's so
and the
creepy.
same exact clothes too. And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah." So he basically, and I took that almost as like a nice thing though, that I guess he saw my, I don't know, you say grandpa's brother. What's the relation to you?
Grandpa's brother.
What would that be?
Is that like a great uncle?
Or whatever.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I guess, or whatever that is. I guess I took that
There's
as
gonna
like,
be someone in the comments like screaming at us.
yeah, I know. He's like, "Come on." But I took that as his, that was his way of telling my uncle, like, "Hey, like I'm here, and you know,
Mm.
not you're gonna join me, but I'm saying like you're gonna, I'm here, and I'm gonna try to make your transition into like the spiritual realm a little bit easier with a familiar face." So
Yeah, like I'm gonna take care of you. Type
yeah,
of thing.
yeah. So he died in the 40s, and his attire matched his attire that he would wear frequently. Just
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. And then I'm gonna fast forward it. So I'm working at this Jewish retirement home. I'm 19 years old, and I was a server, but I would help him, with stuff in the kitchen, or if like the people needed something, I would like help get them up from a fucking chair or something.
Mm-hmm.
So they would eat in this big ballroom, and think like an actual ballroom, like think, for the listeners and the viewers, an actual ballroom, like it was beautiful. It had a little bar area. There was like a little bar area where in the middle you'd give them drinks. There was like the food service in the back. It was a full operational ballroom. They would eat there every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So your job was to assist these residents, and at the end of the day, you would basically have your side jobs. The side jobs meaning fill up the sauces, you need a vacuum, mop, sweep, whatever it is. Everyone rotates them every day, which is fair. Great. I was not a good server, and I learned that very quickly. But I was always the last one out. So
serving sucks, man.
it's the worst thing ever. So it was probably 11:45 p.m. And one night I'm just vacuuming, right? I'm vacuuming, and there was stations, you could call them, and there were little, I guess you could say like nightstand looking things, and they were very sturdy. And you would open them. They had two handles on the sides. You'd open them and put the menus of the day, and you would switch out the menu, things like that. They were very hard to move, and this has something to do with the story later. So one day I was vacuuming, and I see lights flickering like on one area, and I'm like, it's weird. And then I keep vacuuming, and then I see the lights like flickering. Like it's like almost like as I'm moving, the lights keep flickering. Like I'm in one area, it flickers there. I'm like, and then I'm going to it flickers again, and I'm like, that's weird. And then I look back at the lights that were flickering before, they're normal. And it was like this like weird thing that was just like kind of tick, 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 follow me. I was like, that's weird. Whatever. I let it go. People would always joke around, like the other coworkers. The talk was, "Oh, this place is haunted," and I'm like, "Shut up, dude. Whatever. You're an idiot. Fuck you. You know, there are people that are shitheads, anyways." So, this one day, and then I had 2 paranormal activity encounters back to back, and then I quit. So one day I'm in the kitchen alone, Melanie, and I can tell you this, and I can tell everyone listening. I can tell you the story. I've told this so many times because this was the craziest experience. So, it was about I think it was maybe November. Yeah. And my job that night was to what is it? Clean the spoon, polish the silverware.
Okay.
So I'm polishing the silverware, and it's like, bro, it's fucking like 100 of each. So I'm just going. Listening.
Yeah, it's like one of those like menial tasks.
Yeah,
that
super.
They just like, hey, just do it.
Yeah, and I'm the
right.
only one there. It's 11:45, and it's so quiet in there, Melanie, that you could hear the AC. Like you could hear you could hear a person walking. Like it was one of the most quiet. When it was quiet, it was super quiet.
Yeah.
So ballroom, all the lights were turned off, and it was just me. So I'm just there. I'm listening to music. I'm listening to angsty emo music. I'm cleaning.
My Chemical Romance.
No, I was listening to something like that.
You know?
No, literally, I was listening to something like that. And I'm going. And I'll never forget this melody. So the music that when you listen to like rock and pop punk and anything punk, it's very fast and there's a lot of sounds and movement. So sometimes if you hear movement on the other side of the ear, you're like, oh, whatever. It's probably just part of the song. So I have one headphone in because it wasn't AirPods back then. I remember.
Yeah.
Headphone. I had a wired headphone in, and then I had my ear out just in case someone needed me. A resident or something. So I'm going, and I remember I hear like. I'm like, it's probably part of the song or the chorus or something, or someone breathing or the singer, something like that. I keep hearing it, Melanie, and I remember I just ignore it, and it gets to a point where I hear it, Melanie, like in my ear, like someone is doing that in my ear directly. So then I take the headphone off, right, and I put it down, and it's quiet again. When I do that, I put it down. Okay, let's try this again. That's what I said. Okay, let's try this again. I keep going, and it's the same thing. It goes low, and then I hear it like people are, and then I'm like, what the fuck? So then I go, okay, let's do the 5 senses again, Jonan. I grab water, I drink a water, I touch my hands, I touch my hair, I smell a fucking sauce. I do the 5 senses. I look at the time, I send a text out, and I go, oh, I'm awake right now.
Yeah.
And Melanie, it gets so loud. It sounds like, and I'll tell you this to this day. Melanie, it sounds like people. It's like a full service outside. I hear like the plates clattering. I hear like people. I hear people like work, like eating. And I'm like, fuck, bro, because we leave like the breakfast stuff ready for the people that come in the morning. So I'm thinking, oh shit, a few residents have probably gone out, and they've served themselves food, and like I gotta go fucking wrangle them up, And I hear full service. I'm talking about like I hear plates clattering, I hear stuff opening, I hear drinks pour, I hear everything. And I give it 5 minutes. So I'm listening to this for 5 minutes. And I said, you know what? Fuck this, bro. So, and I'm getting chills like all over my body. And I'm like, So
I'm getting chills right now.
So
Like I'm so enthralled with the story.
No,
but
Melanie, when I tell you this, I heard it so like it was a full service outside. Like it just sounded like a normal work day. But I remember I'm constantly checking the time. It's 5 minutes that I let this go on, and I go, fuck this, dude. I grab a knife and I flip it reverse, and I go in 3. I'm gonna fucking kick open this the kitchen door into the ballroom. And in 3, 2, 1, and Melanie, I kick that door open, and when I do, just like that, silence.
That's so creepy.
It was silence, and not only was it silent, it was pitch black in that place. Like I left it. And I literally went, what the fuck? So I put my flashlight on, and I just did like a quick scan. Everything was like I left it. Everything was like I left it. Everything was perfectly done and neat and whatever.
No,
but I tell you, I heard full service. Like it was, and I tell you, and I remember I kicked it open, and all of a sudden went, just like that, nothing. And I said, fuck this. I grabbed all stuff and I threw it, and I said, I'm out of here. And I come back the next day, and the guy starts laughing. One of the chefs. He goes, oh, That happens to me all the time. You just got to ignore it. And I said, what?
Ignore
You
it?
didn't just want to tell. You didn't like want to tell me.
What the fuck?
And he starts laughing. He's like, oh, it happens to me all the time. And I go, all the time? You should have told me. You should have told. This is not something you should tell me on when I'm training, bro. What the hell?
What the fuck, man?
But I'm telling you, when I kicked open that door, Melanie, it was like someone just pulled the plug. Like it was just nothing. And I was like, fuck that. And then the last story I'll tell you with that place is about a week later, sometimes you have to do room service. I
Yeah.
hated room service because you would have to load up these carts, and the building was a massive, like think like a Hilton on steroids. Same setup. It was about 6 floors, and I always would get really bad vibes in the 5th and 6th floors. Like it was always like you know the hallways in The Shining?
Yeah.
Kind of was like that. Very nice, ornate, but too nice.
Yeah.
And it was like that beige wallpaper, and the lighting was like kind of orange, you know?
Like kind of 80s and 70s
Yeah,
looking.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
I guess more like 70s.
70s, 80s, because it's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget this one. I load up the carts for the room service, and I'm looking at the receipts for the floors. Hey, you know, you're going to Johnson and you know, floor 1 and whatever. And we get to like I see like the 4th and 5th ones, and I always would leave them last because I didn't want to go to those. And I was like, fuck. So imagine you're with this big ass cart full of food, you know, and it's heavy, dude. You can't just like throw it. Like it's heavy. So I'm going. First floor is fine, second floor is fine, third floor is fine. And I'm going down the 4th floor, and like I hear like again like a ringing in my ear, and I'm like, I don't know about this. And every time, Melanie, every time I was up in those floors, I would always see a tall man dressed in I guess you could say burgundy. He had like a burgundy suit. I wouldn't say like a suit, but like a 70s looking suit. Like a he would have like a white shirt, burgundy suit, and always would be just like as I'm turning those, because those hallways were long, like long hallways. And as I was turning a corner, he was always just turning the corner at the end of the hallway. And I was almost like I would always just see this one man, and he almost looked like amused. I remember always just being like, what the fuck? And I remember I would just ignore it, thinking it's my eyes playing a trick on me. And eventually I was like, no, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this bullshit.
Yeah.
So one day I started to test it. And I mean, I probably look like a crazy person, but I remember one time I saw it clearly, like just person, and just like, you know, these are older people, so they don't move fast enough.
Yeah.
If I bolt to you, you're not going to be able to run. They're in their 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
They're older, but they're able to walk around. But you can see they walk around. So this guy, I see him turn the corner. I said, fuck it. So I bolt down the hallway again.
Oh my god, you would be the first one killed in a horror
No,
movie,
I
bro.
bolt down the hallway, and I turn the corner, and I'm like, I don't see anybody. And then it happens like 5 more times, and then I turn the corner one time, and there was actually an older resident getting out of his apartment, and I was like, I'm so sorry. He's like, and he looked at me like he just all he did though, he looked at me, he just nodded, and I was like, and he's like, yep, and he just got inside his apartment. It was super creepy. Like
I don't like that.
No, but he kind of like I think he understood like, oh, you were, and I was like, and he was like, all right, but he kind of creepily like was like, and I was like. He just like went back in. I was like,
Are you sure this is not him being old?
No, yeah, maybe. But then the last thing I'll tell you is that the last final story was my last day there. There's again back to the big ornate, the big cabinets you got to open.
Yeah.
To physically move those, you need like a lot of force. Like you need to grab it and shake it because they're full of cutlery, this and that. They're just full of stuff. They're full of pictures and whatever. My last day there, I'll never forget this. And I was like, fuck this. I'm putting away the menus for the last final time. And this is like, they're all loaded up with their stuff for the next day.
Sure.
And as I'm leaving, Melanie, I hear like a rumbling, like almost like an animal or something inside. I hear like, tuk, 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 tuk. I'm like, whatever. And then I look again, and it's rumbling. And I go, what the fuck? So then I go back to the thing, and I open it. And as my hands are on the cabinets, it starts shaking with me on it. I was like, no. And I closed it, and then my coworker looked at me like, you saw that shit? I saw that shit. And as I'm walking, the other one starts shaking too, and I was like, no, I'm good. And I quit that day. I was like, fuck this, I'm out.
Nah, you're out of here.
Yep, that was my last day. So anyways, that was my most paranormal experience.
Hi, editing me here. So I wasn't totally right, but I also wasn't totally wrong about a Dybbuk. So I'm gonna leave the next part in. But basically, a Dybbuk is part of Jewish mythology, and it is a malicious spirit. believed to be the dislocated soul of a dead person. Thank you, Wikipedia, for helping me out with that. I also have no idea where I heard the story of Kristallnacht and like the story of this like Dybbuk box. But yeah, I'm having trouble finding it now. So if I find the source of it, I will leave it in the description. But anyway, enjoy the episode.
I'm just curious, like, cause you mentioned that this was for the Jewish community.
Yeah.
So in Jewish folklore, and maybe I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll edit this out if it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something called a Dybbuk. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's like a demon.
Okay.
But there's a specific like story about a Dybbuk box where someone like tried to like summon a demon, and it was the same night as Kristallnacht. And
That's a Jewish holiday?
No, Kristallnacht was when the Nazis went and destroyed that portion of like the Jewish community.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, oh my God, I like summoned something. Or I think it was, and then she trapped it in a box.
Okay.
And it's called a Dybbuk box. And somebody had opened it, and like, it was like a whole thing. But yeah, it's like in Jewish folklore, Dybbuk is a demon. So I wonder if there's like a Dybbuk in that community.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't doubt it, 'cause that place was fucking weird. And it wasn't, I couldn't tell if it was hostile or not, but it was creepy. You know, I've seen spirits that are good spirits. I've seen, I've had my grandfather who passed away. I had him visit me the day he died, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, but I've had creepy ones, and that was definitely a creepier one. All right. End it off, Melanie.
Okay, so I'll do a quick palate cleanser story, and then I'll get into it.
Okay.
So I used to work retail, and I worked for this company called Charming Charlie for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they went out of business, and now they're back. It's like a whole thing.
Okay.
So for 2 years, I worked at the Town and Country one.
Okay.
And then for another 2 years, I worked at the one at the Falls.
Okay.
Which, again, both these stores are closed at this point. Don't go looking for it. So when I worked at the one at the Falls, I was already a manager there. And it was me and one of the other managers, 'cause I think it was that we didn't have enough hours. So the managers were taking all the hours because we had to meet like a minimum.
I remember those days.
It was like, I hated it. But
Yeah.
I hated it because I wanted to give like the other employees more opportunity to work and stuff. But anyway.
The associates were working 2 shifts a week.
Yeah, I felt so bad. But anyway, so it was me and her, and it was around the time that It had come out.
Okay. The original?
Not the original,
No.
or like the first
The first remake.
Yeah.
Scary as fuck. That movie's so scary.
And I never watched it 'cause I hate horror. But anyway.
Scary. You hate horror?
I don't like watching horror movies because of my experiences.
Oh, okay. I was like, 'cause
it's too much.
this is a podcast.
I know.
Okay. This episode is about horror, but
I know.
yes,
Like, anyway, I'll get back to that in a second. So, it was me and her, and we were like the closing shift, and that day we had gotten like shipment boxes.
Okay. I remember those days.
Yeah, so we wanted to like look to see it because we get cute stuff, and we wanted to like look at it before we put it out, whatever. And the store was like kind of slow 'cause we were getting closer to the closing time. So because it was just us two and we wanted to see what was in the boxes, she was in the back where our shipment boxes were, and I was in the front. And the way that this store was laid out was I could be in the front and look straight down to the back, pretty much. And it was like we'd have a back room, but it was like a hallway where like the shipment boxes would come in.
Yeah. I had
put
the
all
same
the
thing when I worked
boxes.
at J. Crew.
Yeah. And we'd have the boxes in that hallway where the bathrooms were because we didn't have enough room in the back for it. So she was in that hallway, and I was like toward the middle of the store, and we were talking on our walkies. And I'm like kind of shaking 'cause it's like really crazy. So she's like going through, and she's like putting things on top and like kind of going through. And we're like, oh, that's cute, whatever. All of a sudden, she's like bending down. One of the purses at the top that she had put flies across the hall
You
into
saw
the
this
door.
with your eyes?
Yes. I was looking at her because we were talking. I was like,
from
talking
across the thing.
yeah. So I was talking to her on the walkie, and she was like, oh, I'm going through, whatever. All of a sudden, the purse just flies into the bathroom door across the hall. And she and I looked at each other.
Like someone had grabbed it and just threw it.
And she and I looked at each other, and she was like, I think I'm done looking through the shipment boxes now. And I was like, me too. And she goes, what time is it? I'm like, I think it's time to close. And so we start closing. It gets worse.
What?
We start closing, right?
Okay.
and we're in the process of like closing the registers out. The store loses power.
But
The store completely shuts off.
I've worked retail when I was younger. That's never happened to me.
And we looked and we were like, are we the only store? Like, we looked out and like the theater still had lights on, and like the stores around us, it was just our store from what we
No.
could tell, right?
No.
And we were like, oh my God, what are
No.
we going to do? We were still in like the process of closing the registers. So I'm trying to call the Charming Charlie support team, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck do I do?
Yeah.
Because we didn't finish.
Yeah.
And as soon as I connected with a support representative, all the lights turned back on. And I was
I
like,
hate this story.
I told her, she called, she connects, and she's like, hey, it's me, whatever. And I was like, hey, I'm so sorry to waste your time, but our problem just resolved itself. And she just starts laughing, and she's like, okay, do you need anything else? And I was like, no, thank you.
That's a fucking horror movie. This is a
And
horror
then
movie.
she goes, okay, bye. And I was like, bye. And we just closed the store,
I'm
and we
out.
like booked it, dude. We ran so fast. That's not the only story I have from that store, but
Really?
that was like the creepiest. It was the creepiest turn of events, and it was me and this one other girl, and we were like, what are we gonna do? I was like 19 years old.
Fuck
it was
that.
crazy.
Okay. Well, geez. Do we have time for your other one?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me your
we
other one.
can finish it on that story.
Do it.
So I'll tell it really quick. So I already discussed I had a lot of sleep paralysis and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would have the sleep paralysis, when it wasn't things like trying to talk to me or push me off the bed, it
Yeah.
was the shadow figure in the corner. Or that-
Okay. I am already getting chills.
Yeah.
Okay. Start that.
So I would wake up and I would see like this thing standing
Okay.
in my room.
Okay. Chills.
And I was
chills,
just like,
chills.
what's up, homie? What's up, my dog? Because I would just see him all the time. So I was like,
No
whatever,
face.
bro.
No features.
No face.
Okay.
It was just like a silhouette of a man in the corner.
Okay.
Or
Think like
like
Slender Man.
Maybe not like a man. Maybe I'll just say a person because
Yeah.
I don't
person.
know.
We don't know the gender.
We don't know the gender. So, yeah, I would just see it all the time, whatever.
Great.
So then one specific night, I did my sleep paralysis, saw him in the corner. I was like, sup, homie, you know? And I was...
Did you say what's up for real?
Nah.
You'd be like, what's up?
I mean, in my mind
You'd
probably.
be like, I'm
wouldn't.
gonna fuck with you. I'm
Yeah,
fuck with you.
hey, what's up, dude?
Okay.
And then that night particularly, I don't know what was different, but the shadow figure came up to me.
Nope.
And slammed his hands like on either side of my head, and like his face was like right on top of me.
I'm thinking like a Dementor from Harry Potter, like
It
that.
was just like faceless. It was like featureless.
Okay.
And it said my name.
Okay.
And I was trying to like scream, but I couldn't.
Okay.
And I just closed my eyes and I was like, get out of it, get out of it, get out of it.
And you were
right?
but you were you were awake. This is your sleep paralysis.
Yeah. And I was like, get out of it, 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 right? So I'm like moving, I'm feeling, trying to get out of it. And obviously I couldn't go back to sleep.
And was the movement like a?
Yeah, it was like incredibly fast.
Okay.
It was just like from
It
one
was not
second.
human. It was not human.
No, from 1 second to the next, it was like on me, on top of me.
Got it.
And so I woke up and I texted a couple friends that I knew were going to be awake at 4 a.m. And I was like, yo, like I just had this creepy experience.
Wait, was I in the mix at this point?
No.
Okay.
And you probably were, but we weren't as close as we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
But I was texting like 2 of my friends and I was like, yo, like I don't know what the fuck to do. Like I just experienced this thing. One of them goes, what if you're a medium? And I was like, no, I don't want this. Take it away from me. I don't want it. And then for like a couple months after that, I didn't see the figure for a
Dementor.
while.
Okay.
Yeah. But that is like my creepiest experience.
I've had chills this entire episode. This has been
Such a good episode.
such a good episode. Wow. Well, if you stuck around, everybody, thank you so much for sticking around to our spooky special. We will have a Thanksgiving special. I don't think we're gonna have any creepy Thanksgiving stories. Probably have a Christmas special too. Anyways, guys, we hope you got your thrills, your chills, and all of your frills in this episode. As you can see, I have not had any paranormal experiences. Thank God, we blessed. Have you had any paranormal experiences lately?
Lately? I don't think so. Once I moved out of my parents' house, it's
Same.
been pretty chill.
Same. So I haven't had any. We haven't had any. But if you have had paranormal experiences, excuse me. Sorry, I'm just so scared I can't even talk. Share it in the comments. Please let us know your scary story. In fact, we can share it with you, with everyone, if you want. Give us your scary story. Give us your experiences, and let us know in the comments and this, in wherever you want. Just let us know whether or not you want us to share it, and we can. thank you guys. I'm Jonan. You can follow me at Jonan is Win. Jonan is IS-Win.
And I'm Melanie. You can find me at Moonraker Melanie, MOONRAKER Melanie.
And plug the pod for us.
And We Are Not Okay
We
Pod.
Are Not Okay Pod.
You can find us at We're Not Okay Pod, WERENOT OK Pod.
Yep.
And you can also email us at the same email, we're not okay pod@gmail.com. So maybe you can submit your story there if you want to. And
you could just reach us anywhere.
Just reach us anywhere.
Anytime. Not at 4 a.m. though. But thank you guys so much for
Thank
listening.
you.
Appreciate it.
Woo.
Love you.
See ya.